I'm joined by Patrick McDonald, Jason Sobel, and Mike McClure. Patrick, I was just regaling with you how I lost a matchup early in the week, and you were like, "Why are you playing matchups at the Zurich Classic?" How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Clearly, a little better than you with the Adam Shank albatross hole out to lose by 1 on Thursday. But like I told you, kudos to you for dusting yourself off and hitting the books again today. So I'm proud of you, Sia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've got a matchup. I know you've got a finishing position play, Patrick, involving Chad Ramey's squad and Justin Lauer. I've actually got them in a matchup against Dylan Wu and David Lipsky, which I dropped in the SportsLine Discord earlier. Mike McClure, you were also kind of shaking your head. This is a weird event, but yeah. I mean, listen, we're going to talk about the guys in the lead and whether there's any value. How you doing?
I'm great, Sia. Yeah, it was a week off in the betting streets for me pre-flop. We'll see if I might get talked into dabbling here in round 4. But yeah, I think that this leaderboard is still interesting. You've got great storylines. You've got some elite talent there. Novak, though, I do think we should talk about that. We talked about it all week on the early wedge. Like, I loved Ben Griffin. We talked about it last Sunday. We liked Ben Griffin a lot coming into this. Little concerned with Novak being the pairing, how he would respond. Responded really well. So very impressive stuff there from that pairing.
Jason, I definitely overlooked this Novak Griffin team. I think when I was looking at stuff, I probably put a little bit too much stock in how Griffin did in Florida, which wasn't very well, but pre-Florida swing, post-Florida swing, looking like the Ben Griffin that we know and love. Andrew Novak just looks like a baller. And, I'm on the Hoygards. I'm hoping they can come back and win 4 shots down. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Your thoughts on Griffin and Novak closing this thing out?
Really like both of them. They have not just been the leaders on the leaderboard, they've been the leaders in the clubhouse in the interview area as well. These guys have had a fantastic time together. They were asked, why do you guys team up? They said, well, we play a lot of golf at home together and we usually win, so we figured that would be a pretty good team. That's the answer I want to hear. It's not, well, my agent put us together, and it's not, well, our wives are friends and they wanted to walk around the golf course together. It's because we usually play together and we usually win money. That's a great answer, and they're definitely going to win some money this week, and it could be a whole lot of money if they wind up on top. By the way, 2 things before we keep going. I'm dripping in sweat right now. It's not that I'm nervous about this show. Yes, I am. I'm off a soccer field 5 minutes ago, so I apologize that I'm just looking like a sweaty mess right now. Secondly, a little shout out to Marco Penge. Get those one of us GIFs going on social media. He was recently suspended by the DP World Tour for gambling on golf. Comes back, and in his 7th start back, he wins. I hope he had a little action on that.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't aware of that story. By the way, I wasn't aware that you were even sweating, Jason. So good for you. Did you win the soccer game?
6-1 win. I put home 2.
Wow.
This first place team. Ooh. It's Division III co-ed, meaningless. Just get a run in with a bunch of old people on a Sunday. That's all it is.
Don't undersell yourself. I remember, by the way, a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you noticed, Jason, in the chat, there were people that were saying, I guess it was the cut of your shirt. They were saying like you must have just stepped out of the gym. They were admiring your physique. So stop playing your stuff down there. Mike, let's talk about Griffin and let's talk about Novak in terms of the betting odds. We're going to get to some matchups that are still on the board that we can potentially bet if you feel so inclined, maybe some finishing positions. If you have questions, put them in the chat. But Novak, listen, you do have to, and Josh was talking about this pre-show, our esteemed producer, Josh, he was talking about how you still have to shoot a low score here. So it's not like it's in the bag, but when you're 27 under and you're 5 clear of Rory and Shane Lowry, I do feel like it gives these guys, Griffin and Novak, a lot of comfort, especially knowing that, to Jason's point, their rapport seems really good. Their chemistry seems really good. I think that will benefit them in alternate shot. I guess the question for you is, would you take him at minus 105, minus 110? Would you wait for a number, or would you go somewhere else?
I think it's bettable at minus 105, honestly. I think it should be closer to minus 130. I was encouraged the way they played an alternate shot the first round that way. So, and it makes sense after hearing what Jason said. I think that they've clearly played together and have a lot of great chemistry. We know the skill sets have been there. The only concern I had about them pre-tournament was just emotionally, where was Novak after what happened at RBC, right? It was just a life-changing day for him in general, and comes back to this kind of event, but he's settled in and looks great. So I think they're a deserving favorite. I don't have a problem buying in now if you want a little exposure, a little sweat. I do think the numbers should be minus 130. I think having the Højgaards there and then just kind of where Rory and Shane are, I think that's kind of the source of the value that you're getting here. But I do think it's a pretty comfortable lead here at this point.
It does feel comfortable. I mean, it's still Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin at the end of the day. It's not like we're talking about, two of the top 10 on tour. But Patrick, your thoughts on this number? Maybe Josh, if you could bring the odds up here at BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We've got them, this number's moving around, kind of, let's be honest, it depends on where you look, but MGM giving Griffin and Novak a little bit more respect at minus 120. Patrick, do you think, and I'll go around the horn here, there's some scoring early. I mean, there's scoring everywhere, obviously, but would you wait for maybe a better number, maybe a stumble or just kind of a muted first few holes where maybe somebody like Hisatsune comes out hot or Rory and Shane make 2 birdies on the opening 2 and maybe this gets to like plus 130? How would you play this if you had to bet it? Would you take it now or would you take it later?
I'd take it now too. I'm in lockstep with Mike. I thought this number would be a bit deeper when I saw it this morning when it opened at like minus 105, minus 110. Especially with, Novak has a ton of experience as of late. He has the most final round, final pairing tee times so far this year. I think he has 4, 5 dating back to the fall as well. Griffin's been good. You mentioned the Florida swing. You got to remember, this guy played so much freaking golf the first 3 months out of the year trying to play his way into the Masters. He played every single week. Finally took 2 weeks off because he didn't play the Masters and he didn't play the Heritage. The form was still very good, and we're seeing that today. So you look at the teams beneath them, and you have to go until Rory and Shane, where you have a team that is, more well-rounded than Novak and Griffin. And, Novak and Griffin have that 3-stroke lead. They're comfortable together. They're comfortable in this position. I really like them to get the job done.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Jason, looking down the board, I understand why Rory and Shane are second here at plus 600. I got to give some credit to Hisatsune and Kanaya because, and here's the thing though, I'm seeing plus 800 here at BetMGM. When it comes to Hisatsune and Kanaya, Knapp and Sapin, it does feel like an alternate shot, your weak link, which in these 2 groupings is Kanaya, is Sapin, could be like a huge liability. Like when it comes to, and even Celinda Velo, who great, they've been playing great. Obviously they're up here for a reason. List Norlander, like these are guys where there's a weakness on one of the teams. You can't say that about Griffin. Well, you can, but it's not as much of a weakness. Both these guys are good. Is there anybody down the board that you'd take a look at?
If this was a 3-shot lead with best ball being the final round instead of alternate shot, I'm looking way down the board. I'm looking at 40, 50, 60, 100 to 1. Teams that can go out and shoot a 12, 13, 14 under in that best ball format and really come from behind. It is really difficult to come from behind in the alternate shot format. Griffin and Novak have been very good this week. It basically, for me, and I will echo what Mike and Patrick said before, it's just essentially like I like Novak and Griffin, and quite frankly, if all these teams, if the top 5 teams on the board right now were all tied, I'd probably like Novak and Griffin and trust them more than anybody else. So I just don't trust any of those contenders to go out and get them, to go out and post a 66, 67 to go get them. I just don't know if it's out there for them.
Interesting. I want to refer to some of the chat remarks here. Joseph Boza says, if Ben and Andrew get to 30 under par, which is kind of funny to say until we talk about the CJ Cup next week, and it'll be like those scores will be close to 30 under par as well. But is that going to be enough, Mike, you think? And I don't know that it matters really, but we're really talking about Novak and Griffin getting to 3 under par. Is that enough to probably get this thing done?
I think it probably is, yes. I think that 30 is the number, maybe 31, but yeah, I think that they should be the rightful favorite where they're at, as I talked about, having a little edge there. The only number that I think is a little bit bettable that I could see getting there is the Højgaard twins. And it's really just the price point at like 12 to 1 right now. Some of that's propped up by where Rory is and the gap that they're at. But if there was a team that I would expect to shoot better in alternate shot than they did the first round of alternate shot, which was round 2, it would be these 2. They only shot a 70 in the first pairing. I like the round score. It's 70.5 right now. I think that 70 is kind of outcome here. I think that 69, 68, well within range, but I'm not betting anything other than Novak or Griffin at this point. And I will say, I was just going to one more thing on that. You asked if it was time to bet it or wait. I agreed with betting it now, just simply because if Rory and Shane are not 2 under through 2, that number is minus 150 pretty quickly.
Very interesting. Jason, go ahead.
Griffin and Novak, of course, both of them trying to win on the PGA Tour for the first time. I would make the case, and again, I've never been in this situation. You'd have to ask them afterwards, but I think it's probably easier to go win your first PGA Tour event when you've got a partner, when you've got other variables, when it's like, hey, I'm not just walking down the fairway with myself and my caddy like, oh my God, I've got a 3-shot lead. I've got to do something here. It's just, hey, I've got someone else to talk to. I've got other things going on. We're trying to strategize like, hey, get one in the fairway here. If you get one to like 150, I can hit a wedge in. And you've got more that you have to control and more to strategize. So I think it takes away the mental games that are going on inside in an individual type format.
Can I ask you something real quick before we get to matchups? Because there's definitely some matchups we can look at on the board. I know there's some people asking questions about matchups in the chat. Jason, like I've got the Højgaard ticket at 30-1, and I know some early wedge watchers have that as well. I'm sure their chemistry is great. Every time I listen to these guys interview, especially Rasmus, this guy seems so he's obviously talented. He just seems so down on his game. It makes me so weary to bet these guys down the stretch of a tournament. Have you interview all these guys. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Rasmus or Nikolai. Am I off base with my statement? And how do you assess them?
Yeah, you're right. And I think there's reason for them to be a little bit down on their games. They haven't played their best golf this week. On Friday in the other alternate shot, they should have been way under par. They just kept missing putts. In the alternate shot. I think that based on what you hear from them, and look, that's my favorite way to sort of discern who I like and who I don't. You can watch your games. Yes, we want to look at the stats, but we used to do something on PGA Tour radio called press conference interpretations, because a guy can say, oh yeah, I'm playing good right now. Or, oh yeah, I'm playing good right now. Mm-hmm. Those on paper look like the exact same words, but you listen to them come out of a player's mouth and they mean completely different things based on the tone. And you're right. You listen to them and you don't get the sense that they're right there right now. When it comes to matchups, basically for this format, Sia, I'm looking at the better team. And I'm trying to find the better teams that might be even money or just barely a favorite. So we're not, we're not giving out minus 140, minus 150, a Rory and Shane type team that are a big favorite, but just the ones that are in general probably more talented than the guys they're matched up against.
It's a good segue. Actually, Patrick, I want to jump to Rory and Shane. Josh put this in our rundown here. They are minus 575 against Isaiah Salinda, and Velo. And so, of course, Salinda and Velo are plus 370, which is about the price you can get to win like pretty much any Scottie Scheffler tournament, which I just think is funny. Scottie Scheffler in the CJ Cup next week, by the way. I bet you his number is right around that 370, just throwing that out there, maybe 400, 450. Either way, your thoughts on just a minus 575 line?
I'm good personally for 18 holes of fun. I mean, we actually did see a line similar to this. I don't think it was as steep, but in the final round in Phoenix, Scheffler against Will Chandler, and Chandler actually beat Scheffler in that one as a heavy dog. But an alternate shot, I'm just if you're betting on this line, I really don't know what to tell you. Kudos to you, I guess, or maybe not kudos to you. Pick up a phone and call someone maybe, but zero interest in this one.
If you're betting this either way, you're doing it for the clicks. Like if you're betting this, you need to like post it on Twitter and just see if you can get some engagement, because this is like obviously kind of ridiculous either way. Let's go to a less ridiculous one, which starts in 6 minutes, Mike. Again, we don't have to endorse these one way or the other. This is a different format, but this one is at least a little closer to even. We've got Cam Davis and Adam Svensson, who've been playing well. They seem like a nice little partnership, minus 130 over Luke List and Henrik Norlander, even money. Now, obviously, List and Norlander to be paired with them are playing well, but List does seem like the weak link there. Your thoughts on a Davis Svensson minus 130 here?
Yeah, I could be interested in that. I think that Davis and Svensson, like they were not great in the alternate shot on Friday. 72, I believe, is what they shot. And that, I think it's kind of all upside from there. I don't expect them to be at that spot again. So if I had to play it, it would be the Svensson and Davis side.
Hef Sterling in the chat says, new Pope, Pietro Parolin plus 325 without Scottie. Might be the funniest comment of the week, and the week is just starting. We'll count Sunday in the week. I don't know if that's a real person. I assume it is, but without Scottie, it's just gold. Jason, talk to me about Hisatsune Kanaya. They're even money against the Højgaard twins, who on the other side of that are minus 130.
Yeah, it doesn't really follow my, not very strict edict of just bet the better team today. I just think that the cream rises when we get to the alternate shot format. Obviously, there's outliers. Obviously, we saw Chad Ramey and Martin Traynor, who were not the better team in any possible way than anybody else that was playing last year in the final round. They shot 63 and got themselves into a playoff. So it's going to happen. But just in general, I'm looking at the team that has two better players, and the Højgaards are better players right now than Hisatsune and Kanaya, who's been fairly disappointing after being the number one ranked amateur in the world and turning professional a couple of years ago. So I guess I'd play the minus 130, but I'm not wholly interested in that one whatsoever.
All right. I'm noticing there are some teams going low, maybe an expected team. Joseph Boza says Keith Mitchell and his partner, JT Poston, are 5 under for 19 overall. I think they're minus 20 now, unless they just bogeyed something. But I see 6 under for Poston and Mitchell. So, again, it goes back to when you're betting Griffin and Novak, who are the people that can put up a number like that are actually chasing them? Yes, maybe the Højgaards. I don't know that there's anybody else outside of Rory and Lowry that have the consistency with both guys and the upside with both guys that can put up a Poston Mitchell round right now. Do you guys agree? Like Højgaards, I mean, listen, they can explode the other way, but they have the talent and the upside to put a big number up there. Shane and Rory as well. But in terms of like hitting 6 or 7 under, are there any other teams that are actually going to do that?
Someone is. Someone's going to do it, and someone's going to do it who we're not talking about right now, and we're all going to go, wow, didn't see that coming from them. So, I mean, it's out there. It's just how are we going to predict of the 33 teams that made the cut, who's going to go out there and post a low one today? It's going to be like a Ramey Traynor last year. It's going to be somebody that we're not expecting, and it's just a matter of whether that team's in 5th place coming into today or 23rd place coming into today, and they can get into the mix or not.
Yeah, fair enough. Some low rounds starting up. We'll see what happens. Straka Garnett 2 under through 5. Noticing Bridgman and Phillips. Bridgman's going to play at the CJ Cup next week, and I like him. We're going to get to that in a second. They are 3 under through 10, so that's, I guess, not entirely impressive. I think it's a good time to take a pause on this. We'll refer back to this tournament and what's going on, answer some of your questions. Feel free to continue to put those in the chat. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the CJ Cup Byron Nelson in terms of what that course presents, maybe some players we're looking for, a very, very quick preview, and then we'll bounce right back to this tournament, the Zurich Classic, again, right after this break.
The crowd loves champions. Gladiator 2 is an epic spectacle. Remarkable! To amuse you is my only wish.
The glory is yours, not mine.
Very good. Gladiator 2, rated R, now streaming on Paramount+.
We are back on the early wedge, and we got to talk CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. It's coming up this week. Not a lot of big names, Patrick, other than, of course, Scottie Scheffler. I mean, we do have some, I guess, big names under that, but like this is not a big tournament. This is not going to be one of those tournaments where we're going to be hanging on every shot from guys like Xander and Patrick Cantlay and the like. With that said, TPC Craig Ranch, par 71, 7,500 plus, birdie fest. What are you looking for? What type of player are you looking for at TPC Craig Ranch?
Just an absolutely horrible golf course. Maybe the worst stop on the PGA Tour, honestly. If you want a bland, boring golf course, this is your week. That being said, I think you have to look at leaderboards from the Farmers. You got to look at leaderboards from the Mexico Open, and you got to look at leaderboards from the Houston Open. Driver-heavy golf courses seem to be some correlations between them. So a guy that I circled, honestly, hoping him and his partner kind of play a little poorly this week is Salinda. He's been playing some good golf on some of those courses. And yeah, he was the main one. Maybe you could get a Potgieter Redemption Tour. I haven't really kept up with him much after the playoff loss, but Solinda's the one who's playing this week that I have interest in next week, and hoping he doesn't do anything too crazy today.
Jason, when I saw the field come out, I starred some players. Solinda was absolutely one of them. I'm just going to rattle off some names, and then, Jason, I'm going to kick it to you to see what you're looking for. Jake Knapp, Jacob Bridgman, Valimaki, again, playing here, Solinda, Castillo. Quade Cummins, I think, is really under the radar. I think he's a pretty good player. Ryan Gerard, the Højgaards, and Michael Kim. Those are the names that really popped out to me in terms of, okay, I might bet these guys outright. I might bet them top 10, top 20, top 30, depending on what the odds are. What are you looking for at TPC Craig Ranch?
So, first of all, one note there. Michael Kim was a late withdrawal. He WD'd yesterday. He's played a lot of golf over the first 4 months of the year, so he is off the list. But, yeah, I've got a bunch of those guys. I want guys that can make birdies. I want some value here. I do think that you're trying to avoid Scottie, and I'm going to get into that number in just a second here. First click for me, if it's not too short, is probably Ben On, who was tied for fourth here a year ago and has been playing some pretty good golf. I feel like he's just about ready. 10 years on the PGA Tour to finally win at some point. We don't talk about him that much as a guy who's done a lot without actually getting into the winner's circle on this tour. And the second click for me, again, if the number's somewhere in the triple digits, might be Alejandro Tosti, who can make birdies in bunches. I want aggressive players. I want guys that can go really low. Bridgman is a name that I have written down here. Steven Yeager I have written down. That number might be too low as well. It's Scottie, Scheffler, and it's everybody else. And I want to ask Mike what you think the Scheffler number is going to be this week. We threw around kind of somewhere in the plus 350, plus 400 range. My take is that if this was vintage Scottie Scheffler, if this was Scottie playing the way Scottie was through the first 3.5 months of last year, then it might be somewhere in the plus 250 range based on the fact that he hasn't won yet this year. I'm guessing plus 350, plus 400. I'm still not going to buy him before the tournament. Maybe if he shoots a 68, 69 the first round, that number doubles or something like that. I can see it. But right now, I'm probably not going short on Scottie. What do you think the number is going to be?
So I'll say this. I think the number will be closer to plus 200 than plus 400.
Wow. Okay.
Just looking at the strength of the field. I know it is a birdie fest. I know you can score really well. Just the way the market is still priced, Scottie. Like I haven't gotten to bet Scottie all year, and he's routinely been in that 4 to 5 range. Model will put him at 8 to 9. I bet it won't have him, better than 5 to 1 personally, but I would guess the market will be closer to 2 than 4.
No, thank you.
Mike, without having the benefit of the odds, and I already know this sort of the stock answer here. You don't want to, you tend to not want to bet the without Scottie market. And I agree with the argument that I think Jason was sort of suggesting maybe it was somebody in the chat. It might've been Joseph Boza in the chat that, hey, Scottie's not super dialed in, and, the approach play is just, been a little off. And so maybe this is a tournament where when you have to pile up the birdies, maybe, some of these sort of lower names are up there. With all of that said, with all that context, is this a without Scottie potential bet for you, or you're just avoiding that altogether?
It definitely could be. I'll see where the number is, but yeah, if I don't have value on Scottie and he's priced crazy like I think he probably will be, then I'm totally I'll be okay betting into it. But generally, when the price is like that, where I'm nowhere close to it, I'm okay just not betting that market just because you're giving away a lot if you're not close on it, right? So it really depends on the number for me. I can't tell you yet where it's going to be, but I do have a few names. If you want a few names,
yeah, let's go.
We've mentioned a couple of them already, but definitely going to have some interest in Toasty. Run little model setup here now. I've actually got him top 10 in this field, so I like him quite a bit. Solinda looks good. Alex Smalley, Joseph Bramlett. Bramlett and Smalley did not play well this week. Missed cut. Like them again, though, in this format. Bridgman, we've already mentioned, but I'll play a little Bridgman as well.
Okay. Solid names right there. Patrick, one thing I want to run by you, when we look at the past winners, obviously KH Lee won it back-to-back years, 2021, 2022. Then we get to Jason Day in 2023, Taylor Pendrith in 2024. And Taylor Pendrith, vintage Taylor Pendrith, he's going to He's going to be a monster with the ball striking. He's going to get it out there pretty far. But last year when Taylor Pendrith won, Ben Coles was second. Alex Noren was third. S.H. Kim, who I do think gets it out pretty far, was fourth. And you had Aaron Rai, Hanan, who Sobel mentioned. The point I'm trying to make here, if you go back to the other years as well, there's plenty of short hitters that succeed. Well, I shouldn't say shorter off the tee, maybe better with the long iron play. Would you just be looking for like bombers, or would you be looking for a mix of, hey, fairway finders and long iron play as well?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those guys. Ben Coles is elite in terms of driving accuracy. Same with Alex Noren. Same with Aaron Rai. And then you do have some of those bombers like Knapp, who was I think he was paired with Pendrith the final round. Perhaps he was in one of the final groups over the weekend. I remember that. S.H. Kim and Benyon and Pendrith, who are all big hitters. So different ways to get around there for sure. But with how wide it is, it definitely can lend itself to the longer hitters like a Pendrith. So I'm probably going to lean into more of the heavy hitters. Like I mentioned, look at those leaderboards from the Mexico Open, Texas Open. Toasty's on both of those, which I'm happy to hear his name coming out already. Lee Hodges is a name I might be interested too.
Yeah.
So you can mix and match for sure. It obviously is all number dependent.
Yeah, Hodges was definitely a player. Like, I didn't want to list like the whole field when I just gave you all like 10 names. And for the record, of the names I gave, the ones that I'm most tentative about, and again, these aren't outright names necessarily, believe it or not, is the Højgaard twins. And we'll see how they do today. Not that matters, that impacts, but I do think Rasmus is really interesting on a course like this where there's not going to be much trouble off the tee. I guess you could say the same about Nikolai. Those might be guys I'm looking round to round in, and maybe first round leader type stuff as opposed to outrights. Jason, go ahead.
Here's the problem. First of all, if you bet Rasmus, Nikolai is going to win. If you bet Nikolai, Rasmus is going to win. So you might as well bet both of those guys. Second thing, for the people out there who are starting to look into the CJ Cup already, only 4 years at TPC Craig Ranch. Before that, believe it or not, Patrick, they were actually worse golf courses before they got to Craig Ranch. So they actually kind of improved, I think.
Trinity Forest wasn't that bad.
Trinity Forest. Trinity Forest looks fun to play. It was not good for a PGA Tour event. That said.
Yeah. Shout out Aaron Wise.
They've only been there for 4 years, so don't go back too far in your research is my point.
Where is Aaron Wise battling right now? Because I know he's playing golf. Do we know? Is it the Korn Ferry Tour?
He's played a little Korn Ferry. I don't think much, though.
Oh, man. So many names we have forgotten that were, up and coming, like pretty solid golfers just 4 or 5 years ago. Mike, I had a follow-up question for you, and I'm not sure. I know I wanted to ask you the Scottie, the with or without Scottie market play. Gosh, I wish I could remember what. I know we're going to be on the DFS show tomorrow. Do you have any sort of lean in terms of whether you would be playing Scottie in your DFS lineups or avoiding him?
That I don't.
Depends on pricing, right?
It really depends on pricing, but I can. Yeah, I don't think that I'll be jamming Scottie in. I know it's not the week before a major, but we're very close to another major, so I don't think I'm going to jam Scottie as of right now. But it could be a scenario though where he projects well enough and the price is so low that you kind of end up playing him. But as of right now, my intention isn't to just force Scottie in at all costs.
I do think it'll be interesting because there's only so many guys at the top. There's Scottie and maybe 4 or 5 names that are like more of like the household variety, and then it's everybody else. So I think from a pricing standpoint, it'll be really interesting because we've had these tournaments before where the 8 and the 7K range are like basically the same thing in terms of talent, but they just have to tier these guys in a certain price range. So you might be able to take Scottie and get a bunch of low 7K guys that could very easily be 8K guys, but they just happen to be priced that way. So on the DFS show, Mike, you, me, and Rick, it's going to be really interesting to assess what that upper 6K, lower 7K, 8K range looks like, even the 9K range, because it might be a lot of the same guy in that range. Jason, did you have a closing thought here?
Yeah, I have very little confidence in Jordan Spieth right now. Not that his game is bad, but it's not really good. It's not Jordan Spieth level. If there's ever a week for him to turn it around when really the only name guy there is Scottie Scheffler, Sungjae Im is playing. I don't necessarily hate Sungjae this week, who's starting to get it back a little bit. But if Jordan Spieth is ever going to go play some really good golf again, this would feel like a good place to do it, where you can look out around on the range and basically say, I'm better than pretty much everybody else here. I should go win this thing.
There's the I'm from here thing too, which of course is going to be talked about a lot, which by the way, I don't put a lot of stock in, but then when I was looking at leaderboards, I saw Ryan Palmer's done really well here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe that's a thing for Ryan Palmer specifically. Patrick, any closing thoughts on CJ Cup before we start our week tomorrow with the DFS show?
No, I think Spieth is going to win. I'm glad Sobel brought him up. He's going to win. We're going to have JT off the win, Rory playing well, all for the PGA storylines. I'm excited for it.
That would be absolutely fantastic. All right. Well, that's your quick hitter preview of some of the names we like, some of the things we're looking for the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. That's all we have for that right in this very moment. So stay tuned. Obviously, we have a bunch of shows coming up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which will address all of that. That's the betting show, the DFS show, and of course, the live chat Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All right, let's get back to what's going on the course. We have Mullinax and Shelton that are 23 under. Gentlemen, at the Zurich Classic, we don't have the leaders teeing off yet. The last four groups haven't started yet. Anything, Mike, that you're seeing that has any impact from a betting standpoint?
I mean, that pairing -2 through 3 is good. We'll see how they keep it up. I would like to, they got to keep moving, but it really is just a sign that it's scoreable out there, and I don't see the leaders really flipping up much in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to gamble on this one. I mean, again, I have the Højgaard outrights, Jason, but I'm going to gamble and just wait for the first couple of holes to transpire and just see. Listen, sometimes you gamble on a better live number and it just doesn't present itself. And so you don't make the bet. Like, that's fine. You don't have to make every single bet, but I'm going to gamble that Griffin and Novak just aren't perfect in the first couple of holes and that somebody else is. And maybe I get +140 or +120 or something. Again, I've got Højgaard in my pocket anyway. So that's really what I'm rooting for at the moment. But what do you anticipate doing, if anything, over the next hour or so?
Yeah, it's probably a wait and see for me. The one team we haven't talked about that's tied for second place, just 3 back coming in, is Jake Knapp and Frankie Sappin. Frankie Sappin is a guy who I bet on the Korn Ferry Tour a bunch last year, and he played really well out there. I thought he was going to be a potential rookie of the year on the PGA Tour, and he's been, quite frankly, horrible this year. He played well at the American Express, and I don't think he's made a cut since then. Played pretty well yesterday. The first couple of days looked like a lot more Knapp than Sappin. Sappin played pretty well yesterday. If he can keep things together, he's got a veteran caddy and Damon Green on the bag, who won 2 major championships with Zach Johnson. I don't necessarily hate these guys because I think Jake Knapp's got it. Jake Knapp's a good player. And Jake Knapp's he's won before. He knows what it takes to go win. If, again, he can help Frankie Sappin along and kind of be that guy that's kind of motivating him to go out and play better, I don't hate that team either.
I'm noticing, let's see, I guess Rory and Shane are just getting out to the course. Patrick, by the way, Lori Switzer says, what impact should afternoon rain have on the leaders? I'm actually not aware of afternoon rain. I'm sure you're right, Lori, but I don't know if a stoppage is in order, Mike. Is that something that you're seeing? And frankly, if it rains, that only benefits the leaders, right? I mean, it's just going to be soft, gettable conditions. I know these guys can get it out there. I don't think they're worried about length here.
Yeah, I don't think it has a massive impact. Calm winds with the rain, so it's not like crazy storm. We're talking 5 mile per hour. Yeah, a little bit of rain at 3 to 4 p.m., but
yeah,
I don't think it's
very little. I mean, I'm seeing on the PGA Tour's official weather forecast between 1 and 3 p.m. a 20% chance of rain. So, I mean, even if it does, lightning probability 20%. It doesn't look like delays, doesn't look like anything massive. So I wouldn't say it's going to impact things too much at all.
All right, Patrick, go ahead, Mike.
I say, I would like to officially lobby for better weather icons in like sports like golf and baseball like this, because you get a rain icon or a thunderstorm icon, regardless of the probability of it actually happening. So I think that's always interesting. Obviously, it's not going to change, but that's what's going on here. You see the ugly graphic; it's just the emoji for a rainstorm, but I think it's very low probability.
It's crazy because, like, common sense should prevail in all these scenarios. And literally all you have to do is in the same font, like the same size font, put 20% next to it. just right next to it. And like now everybody has all the context they need in terms of what the likelihood of rain is. And I just don't understand why every outfit, every app doesn't do that. Patrick, I'm sure that's something that keeps you up at night. Anything on the course that you're looking at right now that is worthy of talking about from a golf or betting standpoint, or both?
I got nothing. I'm ready for Novak and Griffin to take this home. I think the one thing we haven't touched on is there's a lot of pressure on everyone else too. A lot of these guys are outside the top 100 in the FedEx Cup right now. It's a big week for them, like a Sapin, like the Hogard twins, who are both outside the top 100. So a lot to play for, not just that trophy. So keep an eye on it.
I will say this too, Mike, to your point earlier, a lot because Rory and Shane are second in the betting odds and because they just teed off, you might want to be looking at these lines like right now. Like in other words, I wasn't looking to see if Shane and Rory were in the fairway, but like all of those things are going to affect the betting line by 5 cents, 10 cents, depending on the circumstances. So because they're second in line, again, if Shane and Rory kind of fall off, or let's say they birdie, let's say the reverse is true, Mike, let's just say Shane and Rory birdie the first hole. I just want to use this as an example. Yeah. Does the Novak Griffin number get any longer, or does it stay the same? We got to wait for maybe 2 holes, 2 birdies in a row for us to see a plus 105, for example.
If they birdie this first hole, then yes, I think it goes back to probably even money. And the only reason for that is just the simple layout. It's a par 5 on number 2. So there's an increased probability of being 2 under right away. So that's why. But yeah, I would expect it to go to even money if they birdie this.
Okay. So again, that's something to look for. That's why, the reverse again is they don't birdie it, and that number maybe gets a little bit longer, right, Mike? It goes to minus 120 instead of minus 110. But these are the things that, like, every single shot, every single score, it goes with all sports, but golf in particular, like, it's going to affect the line shot to shot. Mike, did you have any follow up there?
Yeah, it's probably way too advanced and crazy and silly, but yes, you can always find little hedges like that if you're quick enough, because it is going to move based off of par, birdie, bogey, and the probability after that tee shot, right? You can bet not only, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say here, you might catch an even money on their price point there, and you might catch a decent number where you're essentially arbitraging the situation a little bit by betting their actual result on this hole. So don't necessarily think that you have to bet live outrights. You can also begin to make little hedges on individual hole outcomes for certain pairings, certain groups.
Wow.
Because a birdie or par on a certain hole has a huge correlation to that number on a final round. You can't do it any other round than the final round. But
Jason, go ahead.
One last note on Novak and Griffin. I think they're in a nice sweet spot where they're a little motivated to go out and win. Neither of them have won at this level in the past. Rory and Shane, like, they can't change anything in their careers. Like, they're having fun. They're buddies. They're like, yeah, let's go out and play really well. But, like, it's basically extra credit for them. If they don't play well, it's not going to take a mark off your grade. If they play really well and they win, okay, we're going to bump your grade up from an A- to an A. That's all it is for those guys. For Griffin and Novak, but they're also not like, let's say, a Takumi Kanaya, a Frankie Sapin, a Kevin Vela, where it's like, I need this. Like, I am way down the points list. I'm not going to get into the playoffs. I'm not going to keep my card. I need today. And there's a little more pressure on those guys. Whereas Novak and Griffin, okay, they're motivated to win. They haven't won yet. They're trying to go out there and win. And by the way, shout out to Andrew Novak, who, after losing in a playoff last week, what did he do? He didn't sit there and wallow in his sorrows. He went on his football podcast. That's right. The guy has a football betting podcast.
What?
Another one of us type guys. And he tried to predict the first round of the draft, correctly predicted the Giants would trade up and pick Jackson Dart. Shout out to Novak for that.
Is this my new favorite golfer? That I didn't. He has a football podcast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, between Marco Penge winning on the DP World Tour and Novak doing a football betting podcast, like, it's our time, guys.
This could be the best week in golf. I'm throwing it out there.
I think we get him as a guest during football season on the show.
He would actually love it. He would love talking football. Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna send a message out to him, Mike. That's a really, really good idea. Jason, by the way, I do have to share this anecdote with you. Wednesday morning, when Rick and I were doing the live chat, and by the way, the live chat is going to be me and Mike this week. That's Wednesday, 10:30, talking CJ CUP Byron Nelson. But Rick and I were talking, and of course, everybody sends in their questions. We were having some dialogue with all the viewers, and Rick brought up the idea of having the Zurich Classic be a draft and how cool that would be. And I said, you know what? Jason was suggesting that just yesterday. I think it's a great idea. Anyway, he didn't know you said that on Tuesday. Your response?
I'm still, afterwards, I thought about it, just like fantasy football. Like, okay, everyone did a draft for a long time. Everyone's moved on to an auction. Like, whoa, the auction format's really cool. I love the auction idea. Like, basically, you take guys who they can auction off their FedEx Cup points. So you've got 93 FedEx Cup points. You want to go play with Rory. You're like, I'm all in. I'm putting up my paddle. I'm 93 FedEx Cup points. You take Rory. If you buy him, you're the highest bid. He's your partner for the week. Hey, maybe you come in first place and you get a whole bunch of points. You get into the playoffs. Or maybe he doesn't really care and he goes out and plays bad. You miss the cut and you've just lost all the FedEx Cup points you had. But you're betting. You're gambling.
It sounds fun for sure. By the way, I was stalling a little bit. We gotta close the show now. I was stalling a little bit because I was like, well, where's Jeff Stenberg? As Mike pointed out and others in the chat, Joseph Boza pointed out, Phillips and Thor Bjornsson 2 under through 2. The march is on for Thorb, and Jeff Stenberg is finally in the chat. He says, let's go Thor with 1 million exclamation points. That is our cue to close the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Early Wedge. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock for the DFS show. We'll see you Tuesday at 7 o'clock for the betting show. We'll see you Wednesday at 10:30 for the live chat for the CJ CUP Byron Nelson, and of course, Friday recap, and then this show, the live betting chat at 1 o'clock every single Sunday. On behalf of Patrick McDonald, Mike McClure, Jason Sobel, and Josh on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, enjoy the rest of the Zurich. See you next time on the Early Wedge.